Okay, so today I want to talk about something that's really important, and this is something that can really make or break your product when you're launching a product, you're releasing it. Now, if you've put in a ton of work into getting this product ready for launch, or however you're trying to release it, you've spent nights working hard on the computer, and you've really put everything into this product over the last few months, the last thing you want to do is go to the stage where you're ready to launch your product and something goes wrong. Unfortunately, this happens to everyone. It happened for me on my very first launch. Me and a partner, we had worked literally through the night for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, and put everything into creating this product. We had flown to different places around New Zealand. We didn't have much money at the time, but we were just doing everything we could to get the information we needed to actually launch our product. We did videos and had everything all packaged up, looking really great. We went into launch and we made a big noise about how good this product was going to be. We had managed to somehow get people to promote it and email about our product. And then leading into the night of the launch itself, we didn't think anything could go wrong. We thought, oh, we've got everything all managed, everything is in place, everything is where it needs to be. The product went live and about 5,000 visitors hit the page. It was crazy for a first time launch in terms of the amount of visitors we got. But unfortunately, what we hadn't thought of is our price. We thought that because we worked so hard on this product, because we felt like it had so much value to people, we had set a price that was above and beyond what people were willing to pay for it. And what we found out is within the first day, no one was buying it. People stopped emailing about the product, and it died as a result of that without us making near as much money as we thought we would, or had actually put into developing and creating this product. And at that time, we didn't really know what we had done wrong. We didn't know why people were buying, but what it came down to, and what I know now, and what we found out the next time we actually relaunched this product, because the next time we did it, it ended up generating over $100,000, is that we had got the pricing wrong. We had failed to identify what price our audience would be willing to buy at. We'd done okay, but the main reason that people weren't buying was because the price of our product wasn't where it needed to be. So what I want to do today is I want to give you five ways that you can check that your price is correct. 5 questions you can ask yourself before you actually go and launch your product, before you release it. And it's a really good way of making sure that when you do release your product, you've got a price that you can then work with. Because you want to make sure that you have the best possible price. You're not going to know for sure that your price is 100% without a doubt the best price to launch a product at. But if you get to this stage where you've answered all these questions, you'll know that you've done all you can to name the best price. And when I do this, it's very, very rare that a pricing mistake happens, and there is a way to overcome that, which I want to share with you in this video. So let's get to it. I'm going to show you 5 ways or 5 questions that you can ask yourself to make sure that the price is right, you've priced your product right when you go into launching it online. Okay, so number 1 is to honestly look at your product. Is the product itself, is it really as good as you think it is? I know you've put in a lot of effort, you've spent a lot of time working really hard on this product, but the visitor that's on your sales page doesn't understand that. They don't see that, and they don't really care. What they care about is, are they getting a good deal, or can they go somewhere else and can they get a better deal from someone else? That's what the visitor is looking at, because no one likes to get a bad deal. Think of your own behavior, your own buying habits when you visit a website. When you look at a product, you're thinking, well, is this the best deal I can get? Is this going to give me what I need? And if it does, then could I get this somewhere else at a lower cost? So you want to make sure you're not pricing yourself out for those people that could go to and visit your page, but then go to a competitor's and see that, hey, well, this is a lower price, I do want this. That sales message was really convincing, but hey, I can get it at a cheaper price here, I'll save some money. I'm happy because this will be okay. I'm comfortable with that. So you want to make sure that you don't overprice, and you don't put into your consideration how much work and effort it took you to put into that product, because that's not what people are looking at on the page. What they're looking at is, what is the price of this product and can I get something similar elsewhere? So make sure that when they do come to your page that they're thinking, oh, this is great, I can only get this here. This is a price that is very good compared to the competition, because that's going to be going into your customer's mind, or your potential customer's mind. So the next thing is, how much is your audience willing to pay? If someone's visiting your website, they're going and they're looking at your sales page, how much are they willing to pay for that product? Are you pricing it above and beyond what they would be willing to pay? A shirt, for example, if you're selling in the e-commerce niche, if you're selling things like maybe you could be selling shirts or something, and you know that you want to make $15 profit per one of these items you sell. It's got to be $15 above and beyond what you paid for it. However, people just aren't willing to pay that much for that particular product. So you don't want to overprice, and you don't want to price yourself out of what people are willing to pay, just so you can generate the profit margins that you need. There are other creative ways of being able to make sure that you match the profit margins, and if you can't, then obviously you're selling the wrong type of product if you're in the e-commerce niche, if you can't bring your price down. If you're in the digital product selling niche, this again is really important as well. If people aren't willing to pay as much as you're trying to charge for a particular product, WordPress plugins come to mind as well. WordPress plugins are traditionally lower priced items. Sometimes though you see the odd one that's overpriced, and we see these products launching, and then that's going to affect your conversions, and it's going to prevent people from buying as much as you probably want them to. All right, step number 3. So you need to have a strong money angle, or an angle that has a benefit attached to it. Because when it comes to pricing and people justifying their decision whether to buy your product or not, it's not a logical decision, it's more of an emotional decision. And if someone thinks that the value they're going to receive from purchasing this product is worth it because they're going to be able to do this thing that they want to do, then obviously they're going to be willing to pay more for that, because it comes down to how much are they willing to pay to achieve what they want to achieve. So this will work whether you're in the online marketing, whether you're doing fitness. If someone's just having a massive toot outside, whether you're in another type of niche as well, this also comes into it as well. So you want to make sure that you are communicating that thing that someone can achieve on your sales copy, and you want to make sure that that thing that they could potentially achieve is going to be worth it for them to pay this price, and then make sure that you can deliver on what you're promising on your sales page. So number 4 is, how good does your software or your product look? Does it look like a product that someone will be willing to pay a lot for? Because if you have a cheap looking website, you have cheap designs, you've maybe done it yourself and you're not a great designer. I've been there, I've done that in the past when I didn't want to spend money on those things. But you're not going to be able to charge a higher amount if your website looks cheap, if your, the product itself looks cheap. It's very difficult to do that. Usually what people want to see, especially for software as an example, is they want to see a clean looking product, a clean looking sales page that matches the message that you're trying to deliver, which is, hey, this is going to make your life better in these ways. So you want to make sure that, when you're doing this, that your product and your sales copy and your sales presentation, I guess the presentation of your page itself, does look as good as what you're trying to charge. If you're trying to charge a high amount, I would consider getting a UI designer, getting a designer, someone who knows what they're talking about when it comes to designs. If you're charging a high amount, it's worth doing that. If you're charging a lower amount, you don't necessarily need to do that, but don't try and charge above and beyond that if your product doesn't look like you could be charging that amount, because often that'll affect people's decision. If they can see that this looks really complete, it looks really good, they'll be willing to pay more. The other thing is that if you're doing this and you are, say for example, creating something you're selling at a low price, it doesn't hurt to make it look really good, because it means that people will feel like they're getting an absolute bargain. And we'll do that on our sales funnels, for example. If we're trying to identify who is a customer who's going to be willing to spend money with us and who's not, we want to make it an absolute bargain for them. So what we'll do is we'll often hire a designer, we'll make it look really, really nice, and then we'll offer it at a really low cost. It's an absolute bargain for them. They're going to feel great buying this thing, because it means that it's highly likely we're going to identify who our customers are, our potential customers, and who's going to spend more money with us in future purchasing other products that relate to that first sale we're making. Okay, number 5 is, how closely does your message match what it is you're actually selling? I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago there was this big trend that happened when internet marketing, online marketing was really new, and people would use this technique called blind copy. Well, basically what they would do is they would go heavy on the benefits. You're going to be able to achieve this, you're going to be able to achieve this, you're going to be able to achieve this, and then they would lead people down the page and they would never actually reveal what the product was. Someone would go ahead and buy on emotion because they think, wow, this is going to solve all these problems. They would get into the product and then they didn't know really what they were buying, but then they would find out, it's a ranking software or something that really has no relevance at all to the message that that the seller was communicating on the sales page. That led to higher refunds. Nowadays, people want honesty. Honesty sells. If you're honest about your product, if you're upfront about what it can help people to achieve, and if you make sure you don't make any claims that would be untrue, that's what people are looking for. They're looking for people who are going to be upfront. There's so much information out there, no one has time to be reading things that are incorrect. So your ability to build trust on your page will directly affect the amount that someone's willing to pay. If you get into your visitor's mindset for a second, think about what they're going through when they're making that decision to purchase. They're thinking about, can I trust this person? Does this product look like does it match what I would really want it to be doing? And they'll be looking and reading your sales page, and you want to make sure that there's no disconnects. You want to make sure that your visitor has no reason to think, well, I'm not sure if this will be able to help me do this or help me do this because it's not mentioned here. So these things are important to consider as well as you're going through, and you want to make sure that you lay out what is actually included in the product, because that's what people will be looking at, and if they have any reason to think that you're not being upfront about what your product does, then they'll probably scroll away. So that also is going to affect your price. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention before we finish, something that I hadn't actually planned on talking about, is that one of the things that you can do to separate yourself from the competition, I mentioned competition earlier on, is if you're looking at different competition, what you want to make sure that you do is, if you are finding that you are launching a product or you have a product that's similar to your competition, try and add into your sales copy or try and add into that product, that training product, that software, something that's going to grab people's attention that is unique or a different angle, because sometimes people buy based on one thing they read in a sales page, and that can really help your conversions. We've done this in the past where we've had clashes, we've launched a product that someone else has got something that's really similar. And you want to make sure that if you can, come up with some sort of unique angle or something that will grab people's attention to make them decide to buy your product instead of the alternatives that are out there. That's something that will help, and I'll extend on that in a separate video. Finally, your attitude when it comes to pricing is really important. You want to make sure that this is probably the best way I can put it. You can always increase your price after you launch a product, but you can't easily decrease the price. And what I mean by that is, if you launch your product to the marketplace, if 50 people, 100 people buy your product, then you try and lower the price, there's going to be a lot of issues in doing that with the people that have purchased at a higher amount. However, if you then increase the price after making 100 sales, no one's going to have an issue. These people know they got a great deal, and the people that buy in future will be like, well, the product already launched, I was a bit late to the party, it's okay, I'll pay more for it. Or they won't even realize that people had purchased at a lower amount in the past, because what you're doing is you're gradually lifting the price and testing what's going to be working the best. So we tend to start, if we're a little bit unsure about what we should be charging after going through these different questions, we're a little bit unsure if we have everything that we need. And you don't need every one of these points, by the way, you just need most of them. If we're a little bit unsure about what we can charge, we usually will start at the bottom, and then we'll work our way up as we see more people coming through, as we have more customers coming through, because you can always do that, but it's very difficult to come the other way. Cool, so hopefully that motivates you, it gives you some insight. If you'd like to find out a little bit more, and also a story about how someone actually went and launched their product, and the product launch was an absolute disaster. This is someone that I know, and they managed to save that by changing their price. I actually have on our podcast down below, you can download it, there's a link to it down below. You'll be able to hear that story at the end of the podcast, where I go through a little bit more in detail these techniques that I'm talking about now. And if you'd like to hear about that, what they did to change it, which actually resulted in them making over $100 million. No, they made over $500,000 in the end of that 7-day period after having a complete disaster when they first launched their product. And you can download that podcast down below, listen to it wherever you are, It's in the last 5 minutes of the podcast, but I think you'll find it an interesting story. We didn't have time in this video to go through it, but yeah, download the podcast and have a listen. I think you'll learn something from it and it'll motivate you, especially if you find yourself in this situation, because everyone does at one particular time where you do get the pricing wrong. It doesn't need to destroy the product that you've launched, that's for sure. Cool, thanks for listening. This is Sam Backus. Subscribe to this channel if you want more videos and you'd like to find out more about online marketing. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.